Welcome back. Today I'm going to finish up the last couple of exercises, and the last one has a few parts, but we're going to look at a small corpus that will load in and look at how some of the words fit together. So the first thing I'll do is clean up my environment a little bit, and I always have to see if I remember how to do this. And each time I get a little bit quicker, but I still have notes for myself. And there we go, that does it. All right, and I will copy in the question. It's a little bit of a long one, so I'll read through it, make sure I understand what I'm doing. Even though I have already worked through it, it goes a little bit quicker the second time. So the file, it's in the input files, and this is the text file. So I'll go to where I have it saved. Contains the data for verb into verb ing construction in the B&C corpus. So this is actually taken from a corpus. So an example would be he forced, and then the ing speaking. For each instance, the file contains an instance, so this just marks where that instance is. The part of speech tag of the gerund, so this will just be a tag for the part of speech of that gerund. It'll have the gerund, and it'll have the lemma of the finite verb, so in this case, the forced. The lemma of the gerund, so the lemma of this. So we'll load this into a data frame, make all the variables available, and then we want to look at the first 6 rows because the third line has a typo. Okay, so we are going to read table has been the way that I have been doing this. So the file will be this, except I have been calling mine quant corp r. Otherwise, this should read it in. Here's where I have to remember I need to tell it that it has a header, what to do with quotes, etc. So the first one I'll do is that the header equals true, because even though it doesn't specifically say, the question here is identified that we're going to have parts of speech tag a gerund, so I'm going to assume that those are identified with headers. And actually, if we wanted to double check and say that we were inputting these, then we could say, okay, yes, we know that they do have headers. I would expect that we've been given a full file without missing data, but then this would just allow that if there were anything missing, so there's nothing there, that they would be filled in with NA. This disables the quoting since there should not be any quotes, and I'm not going to worry about how to handle the quotes in this set. I'm going to say that it's tab separated. So far I haven't done anything with the comment character, and I believe that sets it so that they're trying to think of if I'm saying it correctly or not, but that the comment character, that nothing is really set off with as comment characters. If you know that differently, then feel free to jump in and let us all know. Okay, so we're going to read this in, and I'm going to put it directly into COV, and let's look at it. Okay, so it's a pretty large corpus in terms of what we can actually see here, and it's scrolled past what we can see, but what we want to look at are to display the first 6 rows. So the first 6 rows, since they're consecutive, we can go 1 through 6, and then we want to see all the columns with just a comma. And there's 6 rows, And it looks like there should be a typo in line 3. Didn't say which column that is, but we can see right there that that's not a lemma. It looks like it should be take for taking, the ing lemma. So we want to correct that third row ing column to taking. So let's say, let's see if we do this as ing lemma. Three, since it's the third row. And we're going to put into that the word take. Now let's run this one again. And that did it. So we could have accessed this other ways. And just to see that, because I think when I did this before, I actually did it another way. We could do it just with, if we wanted to count the columns over, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth column over. Let's try it that way. So if we said the third row, the fifth column, and let's put it back to what it was originally, just for funsies. And we can see there it is again. So either one of these do the very same thing. I'm going to put it back. And, oops, not the whole thing, just the first 6. So we corrected it. So that first question, done. So that works if we know, if we can visually see or we know just where we need to replace something in the corpus with something else. So make a correction. This next one and last one has 4 parts. So this also has to do with changing and saving, taking out parts, deleting rows, columns, according to criteria. So we'll go one by one. Changing and saving. Delete the column with the corpus files. The new table be called COV2. Delete the column with the corpus files. Okay, I'm going to, oh, I've already run the short one. So this, actually, if I want to easily see what's there without looking at just the first few lines, then I can see the columns here. So the BNC is the column with the corpus file. So if I want to delete that column, then, okay, here's where the first time I did, I was thinking of it as deleting the column, but I think a better way to think of it is just to copy what I want into the new table. And it kind of gives that clue within the question of calling it COV2. So we'll actually create a new table. And the new table will not have that column. So we'll start off with the original one. We want all the rows, so we'll put a comma, and we want, starting with the second column through the last one, and 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we can check and see what we have a couple different ways. That tells us it's not there. We want to see the structure of it. Let's look at what we have. So we can see the tags, we can see everything else here is the same as it was originally, just that first column is gone. So that's what we want. Just to see the structure, we can again see that there are all the columns except for that one. So that one is done. The next one, again, it's a delete rows with the 4 rarest tags. So we're going to have to find what the rarest tags are. And the new table, call it COV. So again, I'm going to think of it as making a new table, and the new table is not going to have those rows. So since I'm thinking of it that way, I'm going to think of COV2, and what am I going to put in there? So the first thing I need to figure out are what are the rarest tags. So since I've looked at the summaries here, I can see the tags a little bit in the summaries, but as we get to the rarest ones, they don't show. So I need to be able to see those rarest tags. So one of the functions that I'm going to do, I'm going to just leave that there, and one of the functions I'll do to find counts is table. And table of this newest table that doesn't have the corpus tags, and delete the rows with the 4 rarest tags. So that's the tag ing. And let's see. So with this, I can see them visually, but they're kind of out of order. So I want to be able to sort those. So what if I'm just going to copy for right now. I could put it into a variable to keep track of it that way, but I'm going to try this. Okay, so it does sort them. And now I need to delete the rows that have these. I wonder at this point if I'm thinking about it the fastest way, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going because I think that I am getting there. So descending, or ascending is the default, so I don't need to change that. But what I need to capture are the names. So I'm going to go ahead and use a variable here and just call it Z. What if I put this into Y, just to make it easy to hold on to? So this is giving me this vector of values. And I want to know the names of those. Oops. Let's see if that is what I got. So I did get the names, and the first 4 of those are the ones that I want to be able to search the table for and remove or not include. So I'm going to only keep in here the first 4. Now let's see what is in Z. Okay, so these are the 4 names that I need to be able to remove from the table and put into COV3. For this last step, I think that I can do this with a subset. And I'm going to be starting with COV2, and I'm going to be saying we're COV2, and I'm doing from tag ing where it's in Z. I actually think where I'm going to have to do where it's not in. But just to check it out, let's see what, since this should be smaller, let's see what COV3 is here. So this included those 4 that had the smallest. So if I want to actually instead take those out, let's say where it's not in. Let's see if that makes it not. And let's take a summary of COV3 and see if those tags are in here. Actually, I'll just run the summary of 2, and actually I'll run Z. Oops, I should just run Z and say, okay, Z keep trying to think of what's the easiest way to double check that what I've done is right, even though I'm pretty sure that I have. And maybe this will be. I'm going to copy this down here, and I'll table. Actually, I will sort so that it's easy to see in order. So this is the first one without those removed, and this will be the second one with those removed. All right, so that confirms that those first 4 are now gone. So delete the first 4 rows, and the new table is this right here. And on to the next one. So we're creating a new table, COV4, which is sorted first with the column verb lemma ascending and the ing lemma. So the verb lemma ascending and the ing lemma descending. So they are probably both going to be factors. Since one is ascending, one is descending, one's going to have a rank on there. I still like to use the ordering index. We're going to have to create a new one and put in here order and we could access it by the number of columns over, but I'm going to just do it easily by the name of the column since we know it very easily. So first by ascending, since that's the default, and if we're going to do descending, I know that I'm going to have to do the rank of, oh, we need to do .3 for the other one as well. So I'll go back and change that. And we're doing ing lemma .3. So that should work. If you want to try it yourself without rank and see what happens, it probably will not run. Or let's go ahead and do it right here just to see if it does what I think it will do. Yeah, so this does confirm that it is a factor. So I'm going to just undo all that and, oops, I had it highlighted. It's expecting something else. Let's get it to finish. All right, there we go. So now we have our ordering index, and we need to put this into our new COV. So we are taking this ordering index for COV3. That's going to give us the rows, and we want all the columns. I will look at COV4, and we wanted it, we can just look at it by the end of here, first by verb lemma, and second by ing lemma, descending. So if we took just one of these, then we could see within here it's going descending. So that one's good. And finally, we're going to save this final COV4 into a new text file. So this is going to be, I'm going to use write.table. And I was glad for a little bit of help here. So COV.4 file equals, and I'll have to change it a little bit for where mine goes. for our output files, and then I have my subfolder. I'll call it my something closer to today. And then I need to put my parameters on there. Quote equals false because I don't want the factors to be put into quotes. I'm going to separate it by tabs again, since that's how I read it. End of line with the new line character. I don't think I encountered any NA in here, but we'll just say if there are any, write it as NA, and row names should be false. Let's try this. All right. And to double check what little bit we can, I'm going to look at output files. Should be one with today's date. And from what we can see, it only has 4 columns. We could look in Excel just to see if it looks a little bit easier to see how the columns are. So to look at Excel, I've already opened it up, so it'll be easy right here. Character tab, tab delimited, and finish it. And so they're all in columns, and that's great.